After Jacob fled from his brother Esau, who was angry because Jacob had stolen his blessing, he traveled to Paddan Aram, where his uncle Laban lived. His mother Rebekah had sent him there to find a wife among her relatives. As Jacob approached the region, he came upon a well where shepherds were waiting to water their flocks. While he was speaking with them, Rachel, the daughter of Laban, arrived with her sheep. Jacob helped her by rolling the stone away from the well and watering her sheep. Moved by her beauty and learning she was family, he kissed her and wept. Rachel ran to tell her father, Laban, who welcomed Jacob warmly. Jacob stayed with Laban for a month, helping with the flocks. Then Laban said, "Just because you're my relative doesn't mean you should work for nothing. Tell me your wages." Jacob loved Rachel and said, "I will work for you 7 years in return for your younger daughter, Rachel." Laban agreed. So Jacob worked 7 years for her. And the Bible says they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her. But when the 7 years were over, Laban tricked Jacob. At the wedding feast, instead of giving Jacob Rachel, Laban gave him Leah, his older daughter. She was veiled during the ceremony, and Jacob didn't realize the switch until the next morning. Angry, Jacob confronted Laban, who explained, "It is not our custom to give the younger daughter before the older." Laban told Jacob to finish the bridal week with Leah, and then he could have Rachel too, if he worked another 7 years. Jacob agreed. After the week, he married Rachel and began the second set of 7 years of labor. Over time, Jacob had many children with Leah, Rachel, and their maidservants Zilpah and Bilhah. Leah gave birth to Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun, and a daughter Dinah. Rachel, who was barren for a long time, finally gave birth to Joseph and later Benjamin. After 14 years, Jacob asked to leave with his family, but Laban begged him to stay because God had blessed him through Jacob. Laban asked Jacob to name his wages. Jacob proposed a deal. He would continue to care for Laban's flocks, but any sheep or goat that was speckled, spotted, or dark-colored would be his, while the rest would belong to Laban. Laban agreed, but again he tried to trick Jacob by removing all the speckled and spotted animals from the flocks. However, God helped Jacob. Through a clever method of selective breeding and divine favor, Jacob's flocks flourished, and he became very wealthy. Over time, Laban's sons grew jealous of Jacob's growing wealth. Even Laban's attitude changed. God told Jacob in a dream, "Return to the land of your fathers." Without telling Laban, Jacob took his wives, children, flocks, and possessions and fled toward Canaan. Before leaving, Rachel stole her father's household idols. When Laban discovered Jacob had left, he pursued him for 7 days and finally caught up. But God warned Laban in a dream not to harm Jacob. When they met, Laban confronted Jacob about leaving secretly and accused him of theft. Jacob denied knowing anything about the stolen idols. Laban searched but couldn't find them because Rachel had hidden them in her camel's saddle and sat on them. After a tense exchange, Jacob and Laban made a covenant of peace. They built a pile of stones as a witness, and Laban said, "May the Lord watch between you and me when we are absent from each other." They swore not to harm one another and parted ways in peace. Key lessons from Jacob and Laban's story. God blesses the faithful, even in hard or unfair situations. Deception leads to conflict, as seen with both Laban and Jacob. God's timing is perfect. Rachel was barren for years, but God eventually opened her womb. God protects his people. He warned Laban and provided for Jacob despite Laban's manipulation.